morning, everybody, and welcome to today's session of Let's Talk. We're just letting everybody in quickly, so if you can just give us a few moments and then we'll start. Okay, so we'll keep letting people in as they come, but so far most of everybody's in already, so let's kick off. So very exciting session today in our Let's Talk room. We haven't had one for a little while, but we're talking about upselling and cross-selling. And when we look at upselling, which is obviously from a revenue manager's perspective, quite an important one for me, because especially now that we have very limited demand coming through, we obviously want to optimize the revenue and the profits that we're getting from that demand. So we've got a couple of experts with us that's going to talk about the upselling, and then cross-selling obviously is how we increase our revenue across all revenue streams throughout the property. So those of you that listen to me quite often would know that I always talk about not discounting rates, but rather give a value add, give money or give a voucher where they have to spend it in the hotel and obviously spend additional as well. So we want to cross-sell as well. But let me introduce you to the panel. Very exciting team that is going to be talking to us today. So maybe just a quick introduction of who you are, and your predictions for the recovery in tourism this year. Anna, shall we start with you?
Hi, I'm Anna Groenewald. I'm the COO of Cloud One Technology. We do point of sale and signage solutions for the hospitality environment. And yeah, my predictions, I don't know what to predict, but I know that everybody has been really badly affected by the pandemic, and especially the guys that are selling wine in the establishments. I think that impacted a lot on the restaurant environment specifically. So yeah, I hope there's no third wave coming and further lockdown restrictions. But I think it will take some time. I think, focusing on your local people, focusing on local people coming to your establishment, making them feel special is going to be the way to go for now, because I don't know if international tourists are soon going to be joined in South Africa. So I think that's where I see things needing to be focused on.
Absolutely. Loic.
Yeah, hello. Thanks for having me today. My name is Loic. I'm a sales manager for Oki, which is a fully automated upselling tool for hotels all over the world. Yeah, expectations is quite hard to say in these unprecedented times. But yeah, exactly what Anna said, local travelers should be the focus on in the short term. But also what you have to keep in mind is that the first batch of new incoming tourists will probably be the people who are prioritized for the vaccine today. So for the UK and the Netherlands, it will be the 50 plus of age audience. So I think they will be the first ones to do the international travels.
Absolutely, couldn't agree more. Andrea.
Hi, yeah, thanks for having us today, Teresa. I'm Andrea Britt, and we founded a company called Secret Getaway 4 years ago, which sells vouchers for luxury local travel. So we were pretty much in the right place at the right time when lockdown did start. And we've certainly seen a massive trend of local travelers desperate to still enjoy the amazing places and spaces in our country. And off the back of Secret Getaway, we realized that hotels at their fingertips have not only the database of travelers who love their product, but also need the tool in which to be able to market and upsell their own experiences, whether that's a high tea or accommodation or in-house spa, or even third-party providers. And so as a spin-off to Secret Getaway, we launched gftcloud.com, which does gift vouchers for leading hotels across the world. And it's been a very interesting journey. Prediction-wise, nobody knows. It's really hard to have a crystal ball, but the only thing that really is obvious is that you can never give up and expect things to happen. There's nothing that's predictable in the current climate. And that's a really exciting opportunity to reinvent things, to rethink things through, and to really look at the granularity of the customer experience and say, how can we improve this and how can we be better? So it's an exciting space, challenging space, but yeah, very invigorating. If that's a prediction.
Definitely. There's obviously a reason why I asked you guys about the prediction, because I mean, as a revenue manager, that's the one question I'm asked all the time. So what is the forecast looking like? And it's really, really a difficult thing to do at the moment. So, so I had to just play a little bit. I want to talk a little bit, you know, about upselling and cross-selling, and obviously I think it's very important for us to sort of drive profit optimization, and I wanted to know from you guys what you thought in your field of how important that is at the moment. I mean, I know a lot of hoteliers will probably look and say, like, listen, we just want the demand at the moment because there is a huge lack of demand, you know, but how important is upselling and cross-selling in the current climate? Andrea, shall we start with you?
Yeah, I think one of the kind of core challenges we face across both the businesses that we operate is the balance between getting in that revenue and getting it in at the right rates. It's very tempting just to drop rates as deeply as possible and think that's going to solve the problem. And what it tends to do is it makes it very hard to claw back a market position. So it's really making sure that when these types of opportunities arise, that there's a clear plan and the best tools being used for the exact objectives. And one of the best things about profit optimization is not thinking in a very siloed way about your property or in a very scarcity mindset. It's actually going, okay, well, this is an opportunity. I can, perhaps someone that lives at the end of my road is not the target audience to come and spend a night here. Be that as it may, they will be someone that wants to be a tourist in their own town. So how can I package and present that to the world? And invite people to spoil their parents, because the biggest travesty right now for as a society is the fact that we can't be physically with our parents, with people we love, but there's still the desire to spoil them. And thinking of hotels as hospitality hubs, presenting them as that, marketing them as that, and blending profit optimization with the marketing potential is really important. And I think that's, you know, we kind of get very fixated on the numbers and lose the story. And I think that's a really exciting space to play in for revenue managers that want to be creative and change the narrative of panic stations to front foot. Let's try and make active, proactive steps to target people that live nearby and that live more broadly, if that answers.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I couldn't agree more with you. And you know, I think people also need to understand and realize, I mean, in the beginning, you were talking about people just wanting to cut prices because they think that's how they attract people. But there is only so much in price elasticity that drives demand. And at one point or some point, you have to say, well, you know, that is the lowest I can go and the demand that I'm getting in for that price point. Couldn't
But there's
agree
also,
more.
I mean, on the flip side of that, there's also making sure that the marketing, like that's something that I found interesting, specifically in the South African markets, is hotels are almost scared to market themselves or scared to try a platform or try new tools because it's just too hard, or it's just too confusing. And there are experts out there that, you know, are geared for that. And so it's, yeah, I mean, it's that adventurous spirit is really rewarding some properties out there and punishing those that aren't.
Yeah, I mean, if there's a time to try something new, it's definitely now, right?
And especially now when there's downtime, it's also an opportunity for all the teams within the hotels to work more together, right? So it's not only revenue, but it's also marketing. And especially when we're looking at a recovery phase, there's going to be huge competition in the city, in the destination even. So I think it's also a good opportunity for hotels to work together to make their destination more attractive, to also create more demand in the future.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree with all of you. I think it's also like we discussed before, there are also local people that used to be going to overseas like 2-3 times a year, and they're not able to do that. So you can also tap into them and open up your country and show them what is there available that they might not even have looked at that time. So targeting them in the right way to actually take that holiday that they were going to go to Greece locally is a way to promote your properties, and obviously within the safety of what they would expect them to receive, you know.
Yeah.
No, I agree. What are misconceptions that you believe some of the hotels have about upselling and cross-selling? I know.
Yeah, I would say I think what people think, they just think about the end results of making more money. They think upselling and you like look at the price and that, you know, if I upsell and I cross sell, I'm just going to make money, and that's the focus. And that shouldn't be the focus. They should look at what does my customer actually need and require, and how can I share with them more information about the property or about the product that I'm trying to sell, or make it something that they want to experience. And I think if the focus is around that, rather than just, oh, I need to make more money to survive, or I want to make more money, they might sell better, and they might be able to upsell the products and make it something that somebody wants to experience. So not trying to push too hard, you know, just want to be pushing, not saying like you've got just a basic room, but saying, yeah, you've got a great room, but yeah, we've got one more very fancy room for you available this weekend. If you want to look at an upgrade, we've got this available. Or talking about a specific wine at a table when somebody has lunch, you know, and telling them about the wine and making them taste the wine maybe, and they might buy a box of that specific bottle or even more, you know. I think that is the way to go, rather than try to push and just look at, I want to make more revenue.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, it's so important to sell an experience. And I think with us all being in lockdown, we're sort of craving that. We're craving having to have an experience to create memories with our families. And if you focus on that, of course, your revenue will automatically come. It doesn't mean give things away for free. It's selling what is really you're passionate about at your property.
But it's also, I mean, that's one of the things that we've seen with both GFT Cloud and Secret Getaway, is that people really yearn for that experience. They yearn for that connection with the places and spaces that they've loved. And, you know, we've definitely seen an uptick with the partners that use Gift Cloud, of international guests wanting to spoil their loved ones that are stuck in a country. And that is an invitation to hotels to really think about, okay, well, what else does my property do beyond just a bum in a bed. And when they're putting together their promotions for the South African, for the SADC market, it's also thinking that's a marketing opportunity. It's not just revenue. And that's for me, that kind of biggest misconception that lies at the challenge of the industry, is kind of rethinking beyond we're just in accommodation. You know, it's an experience. And I think that's what people miss, is they miss room service. They miss small things like a check-in process or whatever, you know, like they miss that kind of feeling of going out of their own home. And what we've seen, interestingly, is the hyper local tourists. So people that are staying in their own city, instead of going like an hour, 2 hours out, you know, actually exploring those spaces. But hotels are kind of missing the step of going, well, let's make it as easily accessible for people to gift, you know, or to Valentine's Day, you know, it's a big gift exchange.
Yeah, what you're talking exactly. I want to give you a very close to our heart example. We went to have a cheese platter with my family, my parents, my sister, and us at a wine farm close to Worcester, and they live in Verliersdorp. And my mother and father, they don't go out a lot now, especially with the pandemic. And they were they were just telling us, we've got this Valentine's picnic, you know, on Sunday. And we, my sister said, why don't we buy that for my parents? And they went there, and it was such a good upsell, and it was something enjoyable for them. They could go out. Exactly like you said, it's not even far away. It's in the vicinity, and it is targeted at the right people.
And at the right time as well, because it was a very natural upsell moment.
Yeah.
But it's also, I mean, that's one of the things that I was so surprised about in the industry. I mean, I come from an e-commerce background and marketing, and so the hospitality and tourism trade was quite new to me when we started this enterprise. And one of the things that really baffles me was how a lot of hotels, not all, but a lot of hotels will have these amazing tools right at their fingertips, and they'll still use some archaic way that always was, because it was the way that always was, you know. And so exactly what your experience was having empowered staff at that moment that go, I know what is magical about this place, and I want to share it, and I'm able to share it and easily promote it. You know, someone comes and spends the night at the hotel, they're leaving and they go, I want my sister to come, can I buy a gift voucher? I mean, obviously this is just my tool, so it's kind of what I'm thinking of, but like selling something at that moment that is a takeaway for them to share, because hotels have, and tourism hubs have their market at their fingertips, and they don't use it half enough because they're too scared of the tools, or they don't take the time, especially during downturns, to like really train their staff, get their staff excited and passionate about marketing their destination. And there are incredible tools out there, like absolutely amazing. I mean, Teresa, you do a great job of showcasing so many of them. But they still rely on their kind of spreadsheet to manage their vouchers, or an email trail. And you're like, guys, that's not that great.
Your creatures of habit, right? Loic, so Oki focused directly on upselling. What do you come across as misconceptions?
Yeah, so the misconceptions are, and that's of course because the hospitality industry is a service industry, and I think hospitality people just want to do everything to make their guests happy, and selling items can be a bit scary maybe, and you also don't want to be too pushy. But at the same time, exactly what was already said, if you really can promote the property or the environment, or really add value to the stay of the guest, then the revenue will come after it. And what interesting is to see is that our customer success team, who's continuously looking to improve the Oki dashboards of our current clients. And what we've seen is that hotels that really have the generic hotel items that they offer, but also unique experiences, didn't see a lot of change in their average spend per guest throughout the pandemic. So even with very low occupancy levels. So I think if you go the extra mile and really put yourself in the shoes of the guest, then the revenue will follow as well.
So definitely something that jumps out is the simplicity on what it is. It doesn't have to be something new, and it doesn't have to be something that's overly complex. A lot of us have got upselling and cross-selling functionality already at your fingertips. It's about bringing that across and you know, sharing that with, or selling that. And then, yes, I mean, as hoteliers, I mean, I do come across you know, people that don't like the selling part, you know, for especially my sales counterparts that's on the call today. We won't say any names, but, you know, it's so easy to rather give somebody something for free. And obviously there is value add that needs to be given. But some, like, especially if you look at like room types upsell, I mean, so many times I come across hotels and then the entry-level rooms and the next room type, and there's like a 300 Rand jump in between it. They will rather oversell the entry-level room than take that 300 Rand all the way down to like 50 Rand or 75 Rand, that it's easily obtainable for a customer. But those are revenue that you could add to the bottom line and can add on to profits. So yeah, definitely keep it simple and keep it and sell. Talk to me about the when. So tell me, when is the right time to upsell? I think we get this wrong. Loic, this is right up your alley, I think. Can you tell us when is the right time?
Yeah, so the right time, there are multiple right times, right? So throughout the whole guest journey, you can upsell. The most important thing here is that everything you offer needs to be personalized and relevant to that specific type of guest. And looking at the right time in the when, we of course send thousands of emails every day to the guests of our hotel partners, and we analyze also the day of time when to send those emails. So what we see, actually, what is interesting is that around 1 o'clock is the best time for both business and leisure guests. But if you deep dive into that data, then 11 is the best for leisure guests, and 2 is the best for business guests. So even between the distinction between the type of guest, there is a very important question on when to communicate your offers.
Well, that's very interesting. I never thought of it actually down to time, but wow, thank you. So I always look at it, you know, in the customer journey. So when we sell online and we look at our booking tools, there's a lot of hotels that will have upselling right at the time of creating your reservation. And I always ask people, like, what is the take up? What is the conversion of that? And it's actually generally quite low. We put so much effort in putting that extra step in, which now competes against, you know, other online platforms. And then the conversion is quite low. And I always put myself in those footsteps. I probably won't spend the money when I buy my accommodation because I'm spending quite a bit now. But come 2 or 3 days before it's time for me to travel, I get very excited. And then you want to spend money and bulk up on things. So yeah, so I always think the when is very, very important. Andrea, you observe some wins to sell as well in your space?
Yeah, the thing with the gift vouchers is when we enable, so if we look at some of the smaller properties that use the platform, and we you know, anecdotally speak to them about when they push those vouchers, they tend to push gift vouchers just before Valentine's Day, just before Christmas. And those are, you know, great public moments to market, but they're also very noisy online. So it's expensive to advertise. Your cost per click is up. So that would mean that your actual revenue will be down because you're spending more on marketing. And there's actually some real nuances throughout the year that are great. So exactly what Loic was saying about, you know, the difference between a business guest and a leisure guest. Your business guests are a complete treasure trove. You know, corporate gifting, the end of year giftings, which is normally around February, identifying and dividing your database into business and leisure travelers, and then targeting your business travelers with a, are you thinking of rewarding your sales staff with a incentive? Here is the incentive, a monetary voucher or whatever. I mean, that's something at Secret Getaway. Our corporate gifting is some of our best bread and butter. We do it particularly well. And that's the thing, is using a tool, looking at a tool and going, okay, beyond just selling a gift voucher or beyond just selling an experience, how do you sell it well? And then you've got those tools, because exactly what you say, if someone is booking their accommodation, they kind of just want to spend that amount of money. But then just before they travel, you know, that's a perfect time. Send them an email saying arrival time, whatever. Do you want to add on a game drive or a wine tasting, or, you know, the world's your oyster? And also interdepartments cooperating more, you know, kind of getting that kind of creativity going, where there's, you know, a spa day followed by a cocktail making course, you know, stuff that you don't even already do. You know, any hotel could do a cocktail making course. And it's just being creative and thinking, okay, well, there's third parties that could come in, you know, like the canvas is blank. And that's an exciting space for hotels to operate in.
And I also think, especially looking at people are looking for experiences. If they already booked a package at the property, then you already can think of what other things they also might like. So not only do the sell of the package, but also go one step ahead and offer an extra dinner if they didn't book a dinner, or a couple massage if they have a Valentine package, for example. So it's really thinking for the customer and making things relevant.
Yeah, I think, Teresa, I agree with you. And like you said, like when you're on holiday, the few days before, but even I find myself when I'm on holiday, actually, you know, at a restaurant, I'm just suddenly feeling more, I can spend more, which is not always a good idea. But I mean, when you're there, and if the waiter or people serving you know the menu, they know the wine, they know, I mean, I'm talking from a wine farm perspective because we work very closely with them. They can upsell so much more. And, you know, just by sharing knowledge, you know, about the farm, about this accommodation, did you know about that? You can walk through our gardens, you know, things like that. Just talking about them and telling them what there's more to offer. Maybe telling about the history of the farm. You know, as soon as people feel interested, want to see more, then they always refer back to those places. Joining a loyalty club at that point, you know, if you join the loyalty club now, you will be able to see so much more. But maybe just take a stroll through the garden and you see what we offer, you know, that kind of thing. But making it feel special at that point, I do agree.
Yeah, and it's really nice to create a dream experience for the guests, right? So in a restaurant, would be looking at the menu and you see, oh, these dishes are so nice. Or in hospitality, where you receive pre-arrival email and they show you the hotel and all it has to offer, that you already think, oh yeah, I'm so looking forward to this holiday. I don't have my transportation arranged yet. Oh, they offer the dinner on the first night. It's all about tapping into the dream phase of the guest and utilize that, of course.
And also, like your first experience when you arrive at your room, you know, just having something special there with some more information. It's not even that something needs to be free. It's just that little bit that might be free when you come in there and entice you to do more and read a bit more or understand something more. You know, it's all about feeling special, isn't it, after all, when you travel and you want to go somewhere and have experience.
Yeah, especially we've seen that with city hotels, you know, like in the waterfront at Cape Town. It's a no-brainer to include a value add for dinner or something, because you want to keep those guests in-house. And when you're at the waterfront, there's 1,000,001 places and spaces to go and eat at. So you want to find ways of using a value add strategically so that you keep the business in-house. Or if it's a destination, the value add should be a lunch on arrival, because then people arrive sooner and then they spend the afternoon there and drink wine and enjoy themselves. So it's being strategic about the value adds as well, because there is something amazing about feeling special, that something's tailored specifically for you. And you, like, your biggest advocates are your local audience. They come in, champion, have the most amazing time, and go home. Social media, all of that stuff that's authentic and not bought or anything. That's a real, I've had a great experience. This place was great. I want my friends to experience. I want to do wedding gifts, whatever. Like those kind of things is, yeah, it's a treasure trove.
So I really like that because you sort of touching on a point where I'm always saying, give a value add that can cause additional spend following that. So you're saying, like, get the customer to come in for a lunch, you know, so they're already at the property. So now they're extending their time that they're there, and they obviously need to, or they probably will spend more on the experience while they're there. Same as when I talk about, you know, when we instead of offering a discount, give them a voucher to go and use it in the restaurant. You know, so you were going to give 250 Rand to travel agents' commissions or something like that. Rather keep that 250 Rand in the room rate, but then give a voucher and say, go spend it in the restaurant. And you know what? Your dinner probably will be more than 250 Rand in any event. So people will spend more. So I always say, create those moments that adds value, but they will invest more.
What's interesting, Teresa, is since lockdown, KPMG just released their voucher stats for the last year, and vouchers themselves have seen a massive boost. I think it's like 120% increase sales and revenue wise. So it's a really exciting space. But what's interesting is it's not necessarily the best to give a monetary voucher or a value for a meal. What's better is to rather do a 1 or 2 course meal set menu that people then sit down and they have 3 courses, or they sit down and realize for 10 Rands extra they can get the, I don't know, steak instead of the vegan burger. Yeah, so that's it's again, it's going quite granular about what you give as a value add, because it's easy to do like a 10% spa treatment or 20% off your spa or whatever, but it's actually going, well, come for, and don't do a couples massage, do like a foot massage, because if you come in for a foot massage, then you get people that want to do, actually I'll have a full body massage, or they just in their mind go, oh, actually there's a spa, which is what your marketing objective is. They just need to know that there's a spa for experiences. So it's being really clever about which value add you do and when.
Yeah, and regarding profit optimization, I just want to highlight one very smart thing where a customer of ours did. And they offered in their pre-stay dashboard with Oki an option to don't make use of the room cleaning service, and in return they would get a free beer at the bar. So at one hand you save cost on your housekeeping, and at the other hand you also drive traffic to your F&B outlet. So I thought that's so smart, especially reducing cost and generating more revenues.
Especially because a beer is going to be so much cheaper than an hour of your cleaning staff's time.
Exactly.
Yes.
I like that.
It will work so well in South Africa, right? Where we're continuously having cuts in our alcohol. Let's talk a bit in your space. I mean, what other clever, I mean, that's a brilliant one, speaks so much to me from a revenue perspective, but what other examples are there of upselling that the audience can use?
We've got a really good anecdotal one. It's not necessarily related to GFT Cloud, but it is related to one of our clients that uses Secret Getaway for their promotions. They have a spa hotel near Hoedspruit, Summerfield's Rose Retreat and Spa. And they've done a case study where they've been using Secret Getaway for their promotions probably for about 3 or 4 years already. And the incremental value of selling their rooms at a much lower rate than their normal package, which is full board, and how much revenue and how much time those guests stay in-house. And I think that's something that's really important for hotels and lodges to do, is to track which agent, which direct guest, where they come from and how much money they generate. Because so often from a Secret Getaway perspective, we get lumped with other platforms, and the guest lists are not always created equally. So it's really good to separate out those tangents and go, okay, where did this guest come from? How much revenue did they bring? And how can I keep them in-house forever and ever? And, you know, like being mindful of how you report on guests, because then the next time they come back, to be able to go to them, say to them, listen, you had this experience, or you stayed here and you own a business, why don't you do this kind of an experience? That's, I think, a really good is to not lose the marketing value of a guest, and how much it costs to acquire them through that partner, or through that platform or whatever.
Yes,
I think that's the biggest kind of revenue insight that hotels just seem to kind of gloss over, because it's put in that file of too hard, don't want to look at. And a good reporting dashboard will be able to tell you that very easily. Yeah.
So you package quite a bit with like dinner, bed and breakfast, or experience with the hotel. How do you find what converts better? Is just a bed and breakfast package, or do you think dinner plays quite a big role in it?
What's interesting is a lot of hotels will turn around and say, okay, I'll give a bottle of wine, or I'll give a 30 minutes back, neck and shoulder massage. And that's not enough of an incentive to flip it over. And that's why, like, a dinner, bed and breakfast is fine, but it's not strategic enough. Like a lunch and breakfast for a 1-night stay, a dinner for a 2-night stay. Like it's being clever about how packages evolve. And I think a lot of hotels, and I mean, we're all busy, like I get it. But they look over the garden fence and they see what their neighbor's doing and go, okay, I'm going to do the same. Like, what's the point? It's the same message. People are just hearing it and you're canceling each other out. Find your USP, pursue it relentlessly, make sure everyone knows that that's what you do best. And then you outcompete everyone because you're being very authentic about what makes you special. You know, whether it's an iconic hotel with a high tea, or whether it is a game lodge with an exceptional ranger. There's a lot of ways of kind of building that narrative and owning it. And the packaging speaks to that. It's thinking, okay, like, you know, Tinswalo Atlantic is a beautiful destination. So to arrive early and have a lunch is a no-brainer, because then you're making full use of the fact that you can sit in this beautiful view. You're also getting the advertising of the fact that people go, oh, I will arrive early. That's nice. And whereas Mount Nelson, including a high tea, like it's the iconic high tea experience at Mount Nelson, I'm going to go. You know, yes, I will pay extra for that experience. I'll pay 1,000 rands extra, even though the high tea is 500 rands, because I also get an upgrade, or also get and then you kind of do that bed and breakfast entry level price point just to compete with the public pricing. It's okay. But it's that next option up that where the magic happens, and that's where it's, you know, the best conversions happen. And it's also like the best the feedback you get from guests is the best. Like they're like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. I would never have gone to this place. I've now gone there and it's been amazing. I want to buy one for my friend, you know, and then it's nice to be able to go, okay, cool, well, enjoy. But you want people to be such passionate advocates that they will do your marketing for you. But they've got to first experience your destination.
Yeah, and they also have to know that you offer these kinds of services, right? So if you book a hotel, then maybe one day before, if you don't get any pre-stay communications, you arrive there and think, oh, what was this place again? And what can I do here? So I think the communication part, especially prior to the arrival or during check-in, is extremely important here.
Yeah.
And
I think also that pre-payment's good.
Sorry, but what you're saying is it's also for day visitors. You know, I always say if different units of like you've got a restaurant, you've got accommodation, you've got conference facilities, you've got maybe a room where somebody can have a bridal shower or just an event or a birthday party, wine sales, like if they run in silos and nobody knows about each other, you know, the people that work at this part doesn't know what the rest do, it's always very difficult to upsell because they're not going to feel passionate about the other part. So it's always important that all the staff also understands the whole experience that a venue offer. You can't have them in silos because then they won't talk about the rest, you know, and also incentivize them accordingly. I always see a lot of times things are happening in silos and then, you know, yeah, I think that's where things get broken up and somebody wouldn't upsell. They wouldn't go and do wine sales because nobody told them that there's an option to walk a little bit further or go and have a look at the rooms because it's available and talk about it. If you don't talk about what you offer, nobody would know and somebody would just leave without knowing.
So you're quite active, Anna, in the F&B space. I always want to ask, like, so when you go to a restaurant, I mean, I don't like being bothered by the waiters too much, but I also don't like my wine glass to be empty. Have you got any tricks up your sleeve there? You know, how can people upsell and make sure that they get the most out of me in the restaurant?
Yeah, so I see the world in the rest of the world. We've moved quite a lot away from using tech or moved forward in technology, working on tableside service and having your waiters actually on the floor rather than looking at the point of sale very far away, and that not being there for the experience, not being bothering, but just be available, you know. For that person that wants that extra glass of wine. So firstly, that is a place where you can start looking at having your people close by able to help, but also sometimes putting stuff in your guest's hand as well for them to be able to order themselves, you know, if they want something extra. Those are technologies that you can look at. But then also giving more information about the product. You know, if your waiter are standing at the table, they've got the point of sale with them, they are able to actually talk about what the product offers. So if somebody asks you, what wine would you want to pair with this steak? You know, how many times have you asked that? Or what is your specials for the day? Nobody knows. If they're not educated enough, they won't be able to upsell either. The more that information they can offer at that point when somebody asks, you know, the better they're going to do in terms of selling and getting more people to buy something from them or take that extra dessert maybe because you've actually spoken about it when somebody said, I'm ordering this steak, and just in general talk about it, be excited about it. You know, we've got this nice dessert that goes with this. You know, if you're thinking about it, I'm just going to be, just let me know. So I think it's also about the experience, you know, how you actually portray that. But if you just like going through the motions, it's not something that you're going to easily upsell, you know, because you don't know about the product.
Yes. So there's obviously upselling once you're at the hotel and cross-selling as well. So once the guest is there, obviously very important moment to sell, and that's where you can convert probably the most face-to-face. And then there's opportunity, obviously, pre-arrival, and then there's obviously opportunities at the booking stage. How do we, the previous Let's Talk that we had, we spoke a lot about being very guest-centric. You know, we're not numbers anymore. We want to be recognized for who we are. How do we keep that upselling opportunity very personalized? Loic, maybe you have some ideas.
Yeah, well, personalization is something we are really passionate about at Oki. So within our product, there are a lot of parameters that you can add to create different segments of guests and offer them particular items. But at the end, the hotel team has the most knowledge about the guests that they are serving. And one great story is about a customer of ours, which is the Hard Rock Hotel in the Maldives, who apparently know that that destination is the perfect accommodation to do a proposal for your loved one. So what they created was a full-blown, complete proposal package with music, with someone making photos, dinners, the whole shebang. And actually, the property went live on Wednesday at noon. And Wednesday evening, this proposal package was already booked. So this really shows that if you really know your guests or your customers, and you offer them the things that add value, yeah, they will convert.
So very important to know why a customer comes to your property, why they're choosing us, what is it that we stand for, do something uniquely, and then obviously what that customer's need is that you can obviously then speak to. Oh, fantastic. Andrea, any thoughts on guest-centric or personalization?
Yeah, I mean, it's something that, you know, we got right early on with Secret Getaway was, you know, we keep relentless notes about people's, you know, where they've stayed, what they've enjoyed, so that we can always be mindful of when someone comes back to us and says, I want to go on a honeymoon, or I want to go on a Valentine's weekend, or I just want to go on a night away. There's different levels to which people will, like what kind of packages they'll want to go to. So when they might have stayed at like an ultra crown hotel the one time, you know that they can easily go to this type of an experience the next time. And it's, you can only achieve that insight if you actually care about the people buying and what they're buying when. And that's when you kind of get that marriage that's really powerful, because you can know that you can push them a little bit to give them to experience, you know, moving from a 4-star to a 5-star, or from a 5-star to an ultra 5-star, with just getting the message at the right time and kind of going, the last time, you know, you stayed here, you really enjoyed it, but why don't you try going to Winelands this time instead? Here's this option. And that's what we enjoyed building technologically, is building systems that empathetically recommend places. You know, that's what we kind of feel is the greatest opportunity, both as a platform that does direct marketing and push marketing, but also as a knock-on of how we can help our hotels do their own voucher sales. You know, how can we say, how can we use the knowledge we have here to help hotels do that part better? And it's the reporting. It always goes back to the reporting. You can be as empathetic as you like, but until you test your assumptions with stats and numbers and go, okay, cool, we did this campaign, it resulted in this, you know, you're kind of relying too much on human intuition, which is vital. It's vital. I mean, humans are what make data information. But it's, yeah, not losing sight of the fact that at the end of the day, it is the numbers that matter. Yeah. And I think with customer centric, like, there's actually no greater advocate than someone who's had an amazing experience. There really isn't.
Yeah.
You know, we can all, from our own personal experience, pick out a time where we loved where we went and we've told people about it. And that's what you want to get into. That's where the marketing really matters.
Yeah. Okay, so I have one last question before we wrap up. So obviously I'm all for automations and technology. I'm quite passionate about it, but for the audience, if they don't have the automations and the technology in place, what would you recommend they try and do or implement right now to upsell or cross-sell? Andrea?
Staff training. I think that's the easiest one to do without technology. Because I mean, I don't think everyone's been a waiter or waitress at some point. And I remember working at a Thai restaurant, and there was a guy who could remember everybody's order, always, no matter how many years ago they came. And his ability to upsell naturally was phenomenal, absolutely like bizarre, because he empathetically cared, like they wanted this kind of a spicy curry, you know. And you can take people that have an inherent ability and skill and just push them a little bit to be better. And we are all averse to selling. Nobody likes selling, but the secret is that you're often doing someone a favor. You know, you can take Anna's example of, let's give our parents a picnic. You know, this is a great idea, purely because the staff, the person at that moment had the right message to the right person at the right time, and they just went, yeah, sure. But then they've got to go and they've got to be able to sell that. They've got to be able to give them a voucher for the picnic or make a live booking for the picnic. And then you can make a little note that says this was an anniversary. So boom, 1 year later, 11 months later, a reminder can go out there going, oh, you had a great anniversary. Would you like to come and try our dinner this time? Or a night away.
Yeah.
I mean, technology is an amazing, powerful tool, but it starts with the human connection. Who cares enough to make a note of what matters to that individual?
And there's nothing worse than a forced upsell. Somebody that really isn't comfortable in doing it and is doing it because they have to.
They're gonna like tick box. Did you like your meal? No, it's not great.
Yeah, no, I also agree. I think you know, the staff training, but unfortunately, like you said, some people just like they're stiff and they're just doing it because they have to do it. It's always great if like the owners are there or people like really vested interest and they are passionate about it. You know, then it's not even an upsell. It's about just talking about the product, and you're so excited that everybody can't help themselves. They have to buy what you're selling. But yeah, it comes naturally. Yeah, I was also thinking, you know, obviously we're more on premise sales and stuff like that, but would be interesting to. I wanted to ask, in terms of getting information back about customers, is it like Andrea, you said, maybe just talking to somebody and making that note? You know, how do you actually gather that information for long term? You know, I think people miss that. You're so excited about that point, but you forget that, you know, the report later or the information that you gather is so important to
that's
you.
what, yeah.
Otherwise, it's not used at all, you know.
That's why the systems can facilitate, but they sometimes, I mean, I can look at some of the systems that hotels use, and they're so complicated, like I get overwhelmed. And it's keeping it simple. You know, in the old days, you used to have a Rolodex. You know, it's finding a way that works for a property. But, you know, it goes to that staff training of if someone in the, like a waiter or the service staff, if they're actually involved in planning the picnic menu and planning where picnics get set up, or exactly Loic's example of that anniversary proposal package, you know, that's a lot of fun for staff to get involved in. And so often it's the marketing team that come up with their plan, it's the revenue and sales, and they come up with their numbers, and never the two shall meet. And it's the service staff that must just get told to do what they do. But that kind of like coming from the bottom up of like the service staff or the guys that are on the ground, they can kind of go, people often take their lunch and want to sit under that tree. Let's create a picnic menu, you know? And it's empowering staff like that. And I think we shouldn't be scared of asking the action figures on the ground for that visceral feedback, because that's the most exciting part to develop. And then giving them simple tools to use that are quick to execute, easy to track, not overly complicated. They don't need to feed into every single tentacle of everything. It can sometimes just be, right, you do it like this, 2 steps, done. Anything that's longer than like 3 steps, people aren't going to do.
Yeah.
Sadly.
Agree. And looking at the whole technology space as well, I mean, in this downtime, there are a lot of great tech suppliers who are offering trial possibilities or different conditions because we are in a pandemic. So I think for hotel owners or revenue managers, also very interesting to re-evaluate your tech stack and especially involve your marketing department, your F&B staff to really make the most of the tools that you are going to use in the future.
Absolutely. Well, I think that we've run out of time and there's so much more that we can talk about. But yeah, I thank you so much for joining us today. I'm going to ask each of you maybe just to have your last thoughts and, you know, advice or insights that you can share. Yeah, Louis, shall we start with you?
Well, thank you for having me today, Teresa. It was very nice to talk about upselling. The last thing, that I find very important, what I already said in the technology space, please look into the technology that can make your business more effective and beneficial for the bottom line. I think this is the perfect opportunity to really set a very good basis for your business to be ready when travel is back.
Thank you so much for joining. Andrea?
Yeah, I can reiterate what Loic says, is that now is the time to question the processes and platforms that have been in place and to look for more markets, new places and new ways of generating revenue. You know, our experience with Secret Getaway is that a stylish tool is often the most powerful way of generating new revenue for places that the local market weren't even considering. And then building on that, empowering hotels to be able to generate their own direct revenue, report in it, is pivotal. And it doesn't need to be an expensive outlay. It's, you know, super flexible, exactly as what Loic was saying. You know, we found that we've had to really question how we price out our gift voucher system to make it as accessible for our partners as possible, because there isn't enough margin and that time is right for generating your own revenue through gift vouchers, because people want to support their local establishments. They love them. And a lot of, you know, families are split up right now and they still want to experience places that, you know, they would normally go as a family, but now have to go as a gift voucher. And so it's an exciting space, but yeah, change is inevitable. And I think this is the best moment to embrace that and not run from it. Even though it goes against human nature, where you want to run screaming. Yeah, fortune favors the brave right now. So it's an exciting time. But yeah, happy to answer any questions as well, if anyone's got any questions.
Absolutely. Thanks, Andrea. Anna?
Yeah, I would also agree. I think it's time where you can prepare now to do things where you previously have been, fortunately at that time, very busy. You can actually look at some of your systems at this stage and to change over if you need to. And then also spend that time, you know, with a downtime where people might not be that busy, on educating your staff correctly about what you're offering, and spending that time to make them excited about what's coming, and how you guys can be all on the same page as to exciting times and moving forward. I think that's quite important as well. Not to, like, it's obviously very difficult to not get down, you know, during this time, but try to see the positive around it and how you can actually spin it into the future going forward.
Absolutely. I mean, believe it or not, but COVID is going to pass and tourism is going to rock again. So get everything in all your ducks in a row now while you have some spare time. Thank you so much, everybody, for your time. I really, really do appreciate it. And yeah, well, if there's any questions, you know where to get hold of us. I will pass it on if you don't have anybody's email addresses, but everybody's here to help with any questions or assistance in any way that we can. Thank you so much. Have a lovely day.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Thanks. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.